Hello and welcome to another video, and in this video I'm going to be going over 15 manga that I would like to see get an anime adaptation. This list is all my own personal opinion of series that I think would make good anime or I really love and would like to see get an anime adaptation. So yeah, I originally was going to do 10 series, but I couldn't decide between them, so I went with 15. But I originally went with 15. Technically the title's lying, and there's only 14 titles on this list, because since writing out this list I found out one of the series is getting an anime adaptation, so there's absolutely no need for it to be on the list anymore, because it's already getting an anime, which I'm super excited about it. I'm so glad that the reason one of these titles was removed from the list is because it's actually getting an anime, and that's before I've even made the video. So yeah, this title that was originally on the list is The Fairy of God School. This I found out was getting an anime a few days ago. So yeah, it doesn't need to be on the list anymore. And I could have replaced it with something else, but I couldn't think. So I just decided to just leave it at 14. But yeah, really looking forward to the anime for The Fairy of God School when it comes out. So yeah, there is now only going to be 14 titles on the list. Okay, before we get into what the titles are, these are in no particular order. I've just put them in size order. Some of these are far more likely to get anime than others, but how likely a series is to get an anime doesn't apply to what I put on the list, because it's just personally what I think I want an anime of, because I enjoy this series a lot, and what I think would make a good anime. Some of these series already have live action adaptations, but that doesn't mean anything. There's quite a few series out there that have both anime and live action adaptations, such as Kimi ni Todoke, Orange, Honey Lemon Soda, Kokoro Lives Alone. They all have both anime and live action, so just because it has a live action doesn't mean it can't have an anime as well. So anyway, let's get into the list of the 15 manga series I would like to see receive an anime adaptation. In no particular order, the first one is Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher. This is a BL manga by the author Tama Mizuki. It is a sweet series which follows a teacher and one of his students' parents who has recently become a single father, and he's struggling with his young son. So the teacher decides to come around and help him out. And it just so happens that the father of this student is somebody he used to have a crush on when he was in high school. Now this series does have some explicit scenes, but there's not that many of them, and they're not the most explicit I've seen. They could easily be cut out if they were to do an anime adaptation. They've done anime adaptations of other BL series, such as Love Stage, which had far more explicit content, and they managed that. So if they can manage an adaptation of Love Stage by getting around all the explicit content, they can manage an adaptation of Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher. And we need more BL anime. We don't get a lot. We've been getting some good ones recently, like Sasaki and Miyano. We also got... what else did we get recently? We got Go For It Nakamura-kun. We got that one not that long ago. So yeah. We need more BL adaptations. And I think this would be a good one to do. It's super sweet. It's wholesome. The sexy scenes can easily be skipped over without too much trouble. And yeah, I think this would just be a really wholesome and cute one to be able to receive an anime adaptation. It would definitely be more easier to adapt to something with far more explicit scenes in it. But as I said, they managed with Love Stage, they can manage with this. So yeah, I would really like to see Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher get an anime adaptation. How likely is this to receive one? I'm not sure. it's probably less likely than some of the other series on this list, but it's probably not the least likely of what's on this list to get one. I would put it maybe somewhere in the middle, considering we don't get a lot of BL adaptations, and the ones we do get tend to be more popular, so yeah, I'm unsure about the likelihood of this one, but it's not the most unlikely of what's on the list. But yeah, I would really love to see this one receive an anime. There's a few more BL on the list as well, including the next title, which is I Hear the Sunspot by Yuki Fumino. This one already has a live-action film adaptation, but I would really like to also see this one get an anime film adaptation, because I Hear the Sunspot has several volumes, but they're all like separate. The first volume here was originally a one-shot, then the second volume was also a one-shot, and then we got Rimmet, and then Theory of Happiness, which are like Rimmet's 3 volumes, Theory of Happiness is currently still ongoing. But I think I Hear the Sunspot would make a good animated film. Like, they could just cover this first volume and then maybe do a second film to cover the second volume, and then maybe a short series to cover Rimmet, which is slightly longer. But with this being only just one volume for this first part, I think it would do well as a film. But I Hear the Sunspot is a BL slice of life college setting series. This one's not explicit at all, so there's nothing they would have to get around in that department. So yeah, it follows the lives of 2 college students, Taichi and... I love this series, why can't I remember his name? Kohei. And Kohei is partially deaf, and he has trouble hearing the classes, so he needs someone to take notes for him. And Taichi agrees to be that person in exchange for receiving food, because Taichi loves food. And the two of them start to grow closer and form a friendship, which later develops into a romance. But this is one of my favourite BL series of all times. I have not watched the live-action adaptation. I don't know what the general view of that was, whether it was popular, whether it was not. I don't know. I would quite like to watch it if I could find it, but I don't know where I would watch it. But yeah, I would really like to see a film, an animated film, if I Hear the Sunspot. Is it likely to happen? Maybe. I can see this one being more likely than Delinquent Daddy, with it being a bit more popular and it already having the live action version. If the live action version did well, they could do an anime. So, yeah, I would very much like to see an anime film adaptation of I Hear the Sunspot. We're taking a break from the BL next to go into something that's technically breaking the rules, because this isn't actually a manga. It's a light novel, but there is a manga adaptation of it, so I am counting it, because this is my list and I can include what I want. So the next series is actually an omnibus, and that is I Had That Same Dream Again by Yoru Sumino, and the art is Azumi Kirihara. This one is the adaptation of the light novel by the same author as I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which already got an anime film adaptation, so I think this one would make a good film as well. I don't know how popular this one is compared to her other works, but it's my personal favourite of what I've read. I've only read 4 of her works so far. I have all of them that are out in English, I just haven't got around to reading the rest of them yet. But out of the 4 I've read, this one was my favourite. It's one of my favourite light novels. So yeah, I would like to see this one get an anime film along the same lines as I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. This one follows a grade school girl who is tasked by her teacher over the course of the summer break to write an essay about what happiness means to her, and this confuses her and she doesn't know what to write about. And with the help of 3 women that she meets, one of them is a high school girl who she meets on the roof of a building. The other one is a middle-aged woman living alone in an apartment, which she only refers to as Stag, because that's what's written on her mailbox. And the third one is a little old lady who lives alone in the woods. And through meeting these three people and interacting with them, she starts to find out more about what happiness is and what it means to her. There's also a twist revolving around who these women are and how they relate to the girl. And it was very good. I highly enjoyed this one. And I think it would make a very good film. Especially with the twist at the end. This is one of the women. But yeah, it's definitely remained one of my favourite light novels since I read it quite a few years back. And I really love to see it receive the same attention as I Want to Eat Your Pancreas with that film adaptation. Is it likely? Again, I'm not sure. I know I Want to Eat Your Pancreas did quite well, but I'm not sure how popular this one is in comparison. But it could be likely with her other series, with her having had a film adaptation before. And I think it was quite well received. I have seen the film and I personally really liked it. I liked the novel as well, but this one is my favourite from Yoro Sumino. I would really like to see it get a film. Next on the list, this one is probably one of the more likely ones to receive an adaptation. In fact, out of everything on this list, this is probably one of the top 2 that's most likely to receive an anime, and that is Otaku Vampire's Love Bite by Julieta Suzuki. This series is by the same author as Kami-sama Kiss, which was a very popular series. It also received quite a popular anime adaptation, apart from that last episode. We don't talk about that. It got 2 seasons, it got an OVA, and then it got that episode that shall not be named, which completely ruined it. Anyway, with this author having received a popular anime adaptation before, this one is more likely to also receive an anime adaptation, especially with the manga doing quite well. I see it appearing in the top 50 charts of best-selling manga in Japan quite often. Plus, it's quite relatable to otaku. In the series, we follow Hina, who is a vampire from Romania. Her father is essentially Dracula. You coming in, Mr. X? I'm going to have to shut the door now. And she was basically living her life just sleeping. She wasn't really doing anything. In order to try to get her out of the house, her father introduced her to anime. And she got addicted to this anime called Vampire Cross. When one of the side characters in the series is called Mao, and she really adores him. And in order to be closer to Mao and the anime she loves, she decides to move to Japan. And she moves next door to this guy who looks a lot like Mao. And his name is... what's his name again? Akamatsu or something like that. I know it starts with an A. And so she's kind of drawn to him because he looks like Mao, and he turns out he has a vampire stalking him, and she deals with that, and they become, well, reluctant friends because he finds her very annoying. But this series, as I said, I think would make a really good anime adaptation. Like with Kami-sama Kiss being so popular, and also Tomonkun's B-side, which has a similar main character, although she's not a vampire, she is an otaku. But she's like an idol otaku rather than an anime otaku. But yeah, Hina's personality and character is a bit similar to her from Tomon. So much like Tomon, I think this one would be relatable to all the anime and manga otakus who watch the series. and all the mega fans who stan characters and have shrines dedicated to them will definitely find Hina relatable, and plus the comedy in this one's very good. I think it would translate well into an anime. So yeah, out of all the series on this list, I think this one is probably the most likely. Well, it turns out the most likely was Failure of God School, because that got an anime. But this is the next most likely, with it being from an author that's received anime before and being quite a popular series. So yeah, I can see this one probably getting an anime at some point in the future. Maybe not yet, maybe in a few years down the line. But yeah, that's Attack of Vampires Bite. Next, there is Corette Decides to Die, and I would really love to see this one get an anime adaptation. And this one I think is quite likely as well, for the sole reason that Viz has licensed it in English. That gives me an inclination that this might be getting an anime adaptation, because Viz tends to play it safe when it comes to shoujo licenses. They tend to license from familiar authors, or they tend to license shorter series. At least these days. It didn't used to be like that. But they've never licensed a manga by Aoto Yukimura before. She has had works before this. They weren't licensed. So because this, for the sole reasons that Viz Media licensed this title, makes me believe that I might have an anime in the works. And that maybe we'll be seeing an announcement in the next couple of years or something. But yeah, Corette Decides to Die focuses on Greek mythology, where we have Corette, who is a healer, who's burnt out after being overworked, and she tries to jump down a well, but instead of dying, she ends up in the underworld, where she meets Hades, the god of the underworld, and she has to heal his affliction that he's currently suffering from. And obviously they form a friendship, and then love blossoms, and yeah, it's a very good series. It's got a nice romance, it's got nice fantasy, the characters are all likeable, and I think it would make a really good anime. And it may just be receiving one. Who knows? But yeah, the likelihood of this one getting an anime I think is pretty high, because solely based on the fact Viz Media has licensed it. You never know, they might have just taken a risk with it. But it's Viz Media, so I reckon it's getting an anime. We'll see. Next, this one is Lovesick Ellie. This is a completed series at 12 volumes. A lot of completed shoujo series have been getting anime adaptations recently, although most of them have been older titles. Lovesick Ellie is not that old. This is by Fujimomo. This is a high school romance focusing on a girl who has this Twitter account where she's always tweeting like inappropriate things and pretending she's in a relationship and just being very cringy, and she's quite a pervert. Not in the sense that she does inappropriate things to people, like touching them without consent or anything like that. She's just a pervert in the fact she's constantly imagining being in relationships and doing dirty things with especially this classmate Ome, who she thinks is hot, and he finds her Twitter account and he just thinks it's funny. And the two of them start growing closer and eventually form a relationship. I absolutely adore Lovesick Ellie. I think it's very funny. And again, I think the comedy would translate well into an anime adaptation. And it could be relatable as well. Ellie is a great main character. I absolutely love her. How likely is this one to get an anime? Well, it's not the most far-fetched one, I don't think. Maybe in 10 years' time, once this becomes a classic, it might. We'll see. I would really love for this one to get an anime. But I think it's more likely on the lower side of it having a chance. Who knows though? they are tending to pick up a lot of things recently that I haven't been expecting them to pick up. So you never know, it could end up surprising me. But yeah, I would love to see a Love Sick anime. I think it would be fantastic. And it's not like it's raunchy or anything, so there's nothing they would maybe not be able to show. Anyway, next. This is the most far-fetched, unlikely thing to ever get an anime in a million years, but I love it and I would love to see it get one. And that is After School Nightmare by Satona Mizushiro. This is quite an unknown series, and it's out of print. But not that that means anything, because however a series does in English doesn't contribute towards whether it gets an anime or not. It all depends on whether it does well in Japan. I don't know how popular the series was in Japan when it was airing. I don't know how popular it is now that it's been finished for years. I also don't know if it's still in print in Japan. But it is quite an old series, so they have been adapting a lot of old series recently, like Red River from Far Away. Things like that, but I don't know how likely this one is to receive an anime, because I don't know how popular it was or currently is in Japan. But I know in English at least it's very unknown. Yeah, this was originally published in 2005. So it's been... the first volume came out like 25 years ago? 26 years ago? Yeah, 26 years ago this first volume came out. But anyway, I really adore the series and I would like to see an anime adaptation, but I know it's never going to happen in a million years. But this series follows this character in the middle, and they are intersex. They have the top half of their body is male, the bottom half of their body is female. And they identify as being male, and they hate the fact that they are partially female, and they try to just ignore the fact that they are, and they hide the fact that they are. But they go to this high school, and it's not a normal school at all, because after midnight, this place opens in the basement, and they go into this place, and while in there, they turn into I've forgotten what it is they turn into exactly. They turn into different things based on something to do with their mind. But when they go through this door, they're in a different school, and our main character is appalled to find out that in this world they are fully female, because they would rather be male. And there's also other people there, and they don't know who any of them are, because obviously they're not appearing as themselves. And they're looking for this key, and they have to kill each other in order to find this key. If they get killed in this place, they just wake up, they don't die. And once they find this key, they have to use it in order to get out so they can graduate. And none of them know what graduating means. No one knows what this place is. They just know it appears after midnight in the basement of the school. Yeah, it's a very interesting series. I didn't explain it very well at all. I haven't read it in a while, and I just think my description may be slightly off. But yeah, there's quite a few twists that I wasn't expecting. There's like a huge twist at the end. There's a few smaller twists throughout about who turns out to be who. And yeah, I just very, very adore this manga a lot. I would love to see it get an anime, but I know this one is most likely to never ever happen. But yeah, there's the actual description if you wanna pause and read it. Anyway, next. This one's not very likely to get one either, but again, I love this series. And that is Dawn of the Arcana. I know the King's Beast is very popular, but I prefer Dawn of the Arcana, so if it was up to me, this would be the one I would choose to get an anime over the King's Beast. I like the King's Beast, I just prefer Dawn of the Arcana. But this is an old fantasy series by Ray Toma. It is, I believe, the sequel to the King's Beast, not the direct sequel, but based on now having finished the King's Beast, I can say I think the King's Beast takes place before Dawn of the Arcana, based on the scenes that Nakaba appears in the King's Beast. She's not in it a lot, but she does make some appearances, and also based off things that were discussed in Dawn of the Arcana itself, I do believe the King's Beast takes place before Dawn of the Arcana. I originally thought that they were alongside each other, but now I do think it's a prequel. Not directly, it's completely different characters, but yeah, I think it's a prequel. This one follows Nakaba, who is I think she's a princess. Yeah, she's a princess of this kingdom, but she has red hair, and people with red hair aren't considered royalty. Only people with black hair are considered royalty, so she has very low status. But she is sold off to be married to Caesar of the neighbouring kingdom, this guy here, along with her attendant Roki, who is an Ajin. An Ajin are human animal people. The humans with like animal features, and they have powers. And Nakaba herself also has a power. It's called the Arcana of Time, hence the name Dawn of the Arcana. She uses this power to be able to see into the future or the past. She basically has the ability to look throughout time. She can't change anything, she can just look. But yeah, it turns out that Caesar isn't a very nice person and doesn't think very highly of her at all. But she has to use like her powers to navigate her new home and kingdom and stuff like that. And I really love the series. Again, the King's Beast is probably the more likely of the two to get an anime adaptation, with it being more popular and with it being more recent. But given my personal choice, and if I had to choose, I would choose Dawn of the Arcana, because personally I prefer it. So yeah, it's not very likely, but it doesn't have to be on the list. Next is Queen's Quality by Kotsuke Motomi. Originally, I did one of these videos. It's like been like 6-7 years since I last did one of these videos, but I did a 5 manga that I'd like to see get anime adaptations, and one of them was Dengeki Daisy. And that already got an anime adaptation, which I'm super excited for. I love Dengeki Daisy, it's one of my absolute favourites. And if Dengeki Daisy hadn't received that anime adaptation, that would have been on the list instead. But since it has, I'm putting Queen's Quality on the list in its place. And because Dengeki Daisy is getting that anime adaptation, if it does well, which I don't know if it will because it's quite controversial, then Queen's Quality stands a better chance of getting an anime as well. Because Dengeki Daisy will be Kotsuke Motomi's first anime adaptation. Queen's Quality is a fantasy series about sweepers. We follow Fumi, who is an orphan girl who has no memories of her past, and she meets this guy at her school called Kyutaro, who is a sweeper for the Genbu clan. And what sweepers do is they go inside people's mind vaults and they clean out all the bugs and the bad stuff that causes like negative emotions. And these bugs are like centipede things. And this one does have a prequel as well called QQ Sweeper, which is what all this takes place in. Queen's Quality is the sequel. You do have to have read QQ Sweeper first, but if they do an anime adaptation of this, they could start with QQ Sweeper but still just call it Queen's Quality. It would be less confusing that way. So yeah, they go inside of the people's mind vault to clean out the bugs, and Tsumi herself joins the Genbu clan and becomes a sweeper. And then she learns about the queens. There's the Black Queen and the White Queen, and they are both inside of her, and she needs to like become one with these queens. This one has a lot of action scenes, which I think look good in anime form. I also really like the characters. Kyosuke Motomi always does good characters. So yeah, I hope Dengeki Daisy does well for 2 reasons. I absolutely love it, and I want it to do well. And I also hope it does well so this one stands more of a chance of getting an adaptation. But yeah, I think this one would be quite popular among quite a wide demographic of people with the romance and the action scenes. And it is also quite dark at times as well. And yeah, I think this one would make a great anime, and it would definitely boost the popularity of the manga too. Next is the another BL title, and that is Lullaby of the Dawn. This one is a fantasy BL title that's set on an island where the sea kills people. The sea is basically alive, and it's called it turns black at night, and anyone who goes into it will be killed. So they have these people on the island called Kanagi, who are children with white hair, who once they become Kanagi, they stop aging. And it's their job to go into the Black Sea and to fight against it, to stop it, like, coming onto the land. And they are slowly being corrupted by the sea, and they start to turn inky black. And once they fully turn black, they die, and they're replaced by a new Kanagi. And he is the Kanagi. Elva is one of the Kanagi. And ever since he was young, this guy here, I forget his name, Alto? It's Alto. They met when he was a child, and he kind of became interested in the Kanagi, and then he grew up. And he's been 8 years since they met, and he's fallen for him, and now he's made it his mission to learn why the Kanagi exists, to learn why the sea is black, to learn what the purpose is. And along the way, he learns a lot of things that change how he views the world, and there's so many twists in this one. There's also so many questions. This one is also not explicit, so there wouldn't be anything to like skirt around in an anime adaptation. Oh, it's by Ichika, I forgot to say. But yeah, this one, again, we need more BL adaptations, and this one being a fantasy, and also it has a very interesting plot, so I think this one would draw the attention of not just BL fans, but also fantasy fans as well, because the plot is so interesting. And like all those elements are interesting. And I do like the romance too. It hasn't maybe been the main focus. But yeah, it also can be quite dark, and I think it would just make a very good anime adaptation. But obviously, fantasy's big. Fantasy's always been like a big genre. And I think it would do quite well. I said not just with BL fans, but with fantasy fans too. How likely is this one to get an anime? I'm not sure it will. I don't know how popular this one is in Japan, or whether it would be considered. But I do know it's a great series, and I would love to see it get an anime. If I could choose one BL manga out of everything I've read and everything on this list that I want to see get an anime the most, it would probably be this one. This is not one of my top BL series. There's a lot more that I like more than this, but I think this one would make one of the best anime adaptations because of the fantasy elements and all that. I think it would do quite well. Next, 4 left. We've gone through 10. Next is Gazing at the Star Next Door. This one is a high school romance where we follow the lives of, let me remember their names, Chiaki and Subaru. And Chiaki is just a normal high school girl, and she's childhood friends with Subaru, who's recently become an up-and-coming actor as well as model. So he's becoming very famous, and she doesn't believe herself good enough to be with him. She's loved him since they were kids, but she hides her feelings because she doesn't know how he feels towards her, and also because he's quite famous now, and obviously she doesn't think he would date just an ordinary high school girl. They're also neighbours. But yeah, I think this one would do well as an anime with the with him being in like showbiz and a model. That sort of thing is popular right now, with obviously K-pop being very big, and obviously Timon doing very well. I think this one might too, with him also being in that sort of industry. He's not an idol, he doesn't sing, he's an actor / model, but still, it's still like a celebrity and a normal girl romance like Timon is. So I think it would do well as an anime, because I really love this series. The romance is super cute. I really love them as a couple. I'd say with the success of Timon, this one could be a good one to choose to get an adaptation. So I think this one is more likely than some other ones on this list because of that, but I do think it's popular in Japan as well. I do see it pop up on the top 50 bestsellers when a new volume comes out, much like with Attack of the Vampire. So yeah, I think this one stands a better chance as some of the others on the list, especially with it being celebrity and normal girl romance, and that seems to be quite popular at the moment. But yeah, I really like it. I would love to see it get an anime. The next 2 already have live action adaptations, but again, that doesn't mean it can't have an anime as well. The next one is Something's Wrong with Us by Natsumi Ando. Gazing at the Store Next Door is by Amitsu. I keep forgetting to say. This one already has a live action adaptation. I have not watched the live action adaptation because it's on Apple TV and I do not have Apple TV. So I do not know how well received the live action adaptation was, but I would also like to see this one have an anime. Is it likely to get an anime? Not at all. This is a josei. We hardly ever get josei anime. I would like to check out the live action. I don't think it's a complete adaptation. I think it's only 13 episodes, but I would like to see what it's like, but I don't have Apple TV. But this one is like a josei, kind of a mystery thriller romance series that follows this girl here, and when she was there, she lived at this confectioner called Koketsuan with her mother, and her mother worked there. Her name is Sakura, I think. No, her nickname is Sakura, her real name is Mao. But her mother worked there, and one day, the main head of Koketsuan was found dead, and her mother got the blame and was arrested for it. She was put into care. She was also friends with a little boy named Tsubaki while she was there, who is the son of the head. And he just knew her as Sakura. He didn't know her real name was now. But now she's an adult, and she's received a letter from her mother saying that her mother was innocent. So now she's returned to Koketsuan in disguise, because in order to find out the truth of what actually happened to there, she meets Tsubaki, who's the new head. He lives there with his mother, who's the proprietress, and his grandfather, who was the old head. And he's trying to take over Koketsuan. And she ends up entering into like a fake marriage with him in order to find out the truth about what happened, but she also has to hide that she was the little girl from back then and that it was her mother who was accused. This is a very good mystery thriller series. I was not expecting who the actual killer ended up being in the end. But yet again, it was a very interesting one. The romance can be a bit toxic at first, but it ends up being very cute more towards the second half. And yeah, I really like the mystery element, and there's also a lot of sweets. They make a lot of sweets. It is a traditional Japanese sweet shop. But yeah, the mystery thriller element of this is what it does best. And yeah, I love that type of series, but it seems that type of series mostly just gets live action adaptations, because We Burn the House Down and Who Saw the Peacock Dance in the Jungle also got live action adaptations rather than anime adaptations. So it seems these josei mystery thrillers tend to more likely to get live actions. But that doesn't mean I don't want an anime, because I do. Does it mean it's going to happen? Probably not. I mean, I don't know how the live action did, but this type of series tends not to get an anime. It tends to get a live action instead. But I would really like it if it did get an anime one day, but I don't think it ever will. It's one of the more least likely ones. But yeah, I would love it if it did. Same with this next one. Next one is Don't Call It Mystery. Again, this is another josei mystery series that has a live action adaptation. And the live action adaptation I have seen, and it is quite good. There was a couple of changes they made which I did not agree with. But overall, I did enjoy the live action adaptation, but that doesn't mean I don't also want it to have an anime adaptation. I mean, Yumi Tamura has had 2 anime adaptations in the past, but other series, Basara and Seven Seeds. And I know neither of them did very well, but I still love the Seven Seeds anime, despite everyone else hating it. I still thought it was good. The Seven Seeds anime is like a guilty pleasure for me. I really love it, despite knowing that it's not good. I loved it. So yeah, with her other 2 anime adaptations failing miserably, I don't think Don't Call It Mystery will ever get an anime adaptation, especially since it has such a successful live action adaptation. They're more likely to focus more on giving that another season once the manga gets more content. This is by Yumi Tamura, by the way. So yeah, it's very unlikely to get an anime adaptation, but that doesn't mean I don't want one, which is why it's on this list. But yeah, it's bottom of the list in terms of likelihood. But this is a mystery series that follows Totino, who is a college student. He's got curly, frizzy afro hair, and one day he's accused of murder and gets sent to the police station, where he then has to be questioned. And while being questioned, he ends up solving the murder and clearing his name. And from that point on, the police sometimes come and ask him advice, and he also ends up tending to get wrapped up in all sorts of other mysteries. And yeah, it's very good. It's like each mystery is different, and it's kind of episodic with each mystery, but it does have a continuing plot that revolves around these jewelry with zodiac signs on it, so it can't be read out of order, but each mystery is different. Yeah, again, I don't think this is likely to get an anime. They're more likely to just focus on the live action, but I really would like it if it did. And the last thing on this list is another BL. And that is My Noisy Roommate. The Roof Over My Head Comes with Monsters and a Hottie. This is another, again, we need more BL anime. This one is a supernatural series. Again, there's nothing explicit in this one, so there's nothing they would have to get around with an anime adaptation. But it focuses more on the supernatural aspect, at least in the 3 volumes I read, than it does on the BL. So again, I think it would attract just fans of this type of series rather than just BL fans. But it follows a guy, I think he's in college, or he might be newly out of college. And he's looking for a place to live after being kicked out of his apartment, and he ends up moving in to this apartment with this blonde guy, and they work for a company where they have to rehouse the supernatural. They go to places where the supernatural are haunting, and they try to evict them and send them somewhere else, and if they refuse to do it amicably, then they have to fight them. And yeah, it's like fighting different yokai and ghosts and supernatural creatures, and yeah. I just think that would be like a good anime adaptation, watching these two dudes fight against all these ghosts and stuff. So it has those action scenes, it has all the ghosts and yokai, and I think it would adapt well to an anime. And it will be one of the easier BL titles to adapt with it not being super explicit. So yeah, I'd really like to see this one get an anime. Is it likely? I don't know the popularity of this one. I think it's very popular in Japan, so out of all the BL on this list, this one may end up being the most likely. I do believe I have seen it in the charts before. Plus, it's good. And I would like to see an anime adaptation of it. So yeah, that is all 14 titles, which were originally going to be 15. But happily, Favorite God School got it announced. But it's only leaked at the moment. It's not officially announced, but it's a credible leak. The guy has never been wrong yet. So yeah, that is all the manga on this list that I would like to see get anime adaptations. Obviously, there is more than this that I would like to get anime adaptations, but I had to narrow it down to just 15, and then it ended up being 14. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. What manga series that hasn't got an anime would you like to see get an adaptation in the future? I would like to know. And how likely do you think some of these are to get anime? Anyway, I will see you for another video, probably at the end of the month. Bye bye.